All right, so who you got next on your list, Steven?
Troy, I think this is an interesting game taking on Ole Miss. When you look at Troy, they're led by John Summerall, who was at Kentucky last year. And Troy's a team that always has, seems like a lot of athleticism. They have a lot of guys who transferred from Power Five programs. I think this is one of the better defenses in the Sun Belt. Carlton Marshall, the linebacker there, was one of our preseason All Americans, and he's been very active around the line of scrimmage. They led the Sun Belt in the fewest yards per play allowed last season. So this defense for Troy is good. They're also experienced. Summerall, of course, being a defensive coach, certainly will only help this group. But the big questions are offensively. I mean, they only scored about 22, 23 points a game last season. They added a couple transfers at quarterback, but they didn't win the starting job. So I think Troy is dangerous from they're good enough on defense to at least keep things close, but without improvement on offense, it's just hard for them to kind of threaten Ole Miss. But Ole Miss has also just so many new faces. There's just a lot of unknown with this matchup.
Right. It's interesting, Steven. I don't know if this maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I looked into the Troy. They're two deep here, and basically everybody on the two deep is from the state of Alabama or the state of Georgia, which is two of the best high school states in the country. And you got to imagine those kids, every single one of them, grew up wanting to be in the SEC, and I would imagine most of them didn't have that opportunity. So this is like their Super Bowl. This is their opportunity to prove that they do belong on that level. And like you said, John Summerall, I mean, a lot of people view him as a coaching superstar on the rise. He was at Troy in 2017, the last time he was on that staff, and they won 11 games that year. So he knows the route to winning there in Troy. But let me ask you, what are your thoughts? I know we're trying to focus more on the non-conference, but what's your thoughts on Lane Kiffin not naming a starter between Jackson Dart and Luke Altmaier, and how that potentially plays into this game?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm watching for Ole Miss. Outside of seeing all the transfers and seeing how all the new pieces come together, I'm really curious about this quarterback battle, and I think it's a question of were they so close throughout the offseason that it's a good problem to have, or has one quarterback just not taken the starting job? And so I'm curious to find out where the truth is in this one. I still think Jackson Dart's probably the guy that ends up playing the most for Ole Miss, and especially with the upside. And you don't go out and get a quarterback like that for him to be your second guy. So I don't know if it's necessarily a concern yet for Ole Miss. I think to be determined. But I think if you go back to the spring, I think you probably would have liked Dart to just outright seize the job by now.
And what can you tell us about the quarterback? I believe is a transfer, Jarrett Dodge, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah, Jarrett Dagey is the
Daggy, okay.
transfer you're thinking of.
Way
Uh,
wrong. No.
they added a couple actually. Peter Costelli, you may remember him. He was a big four-star recruit a couple years ago. They've added two Power Five transfers from the portal this year, and I think again to sort of build up that offense. So they struggled to get good quarterback play last year. They played two. Gunnar Watson ended up winning the starting job. So I think Daggy just transferred in too late. I mean, he was an
Mm.
August arrival, I think, after he started and lost the job at Western Kentucky. So I would be surprised if he starts on Saturday. I'm pretty sure it's Watson's job. I think if he struggles, it wouldn't surprise me to see them switch to someone else.
Well, again, that's why you're here, Steven, because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. All right, who you got next on it?